Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're going to pull back the curtain on one of the most powerful ideas in all of technology: how a machine actually learns. Seriously, this is the process that powers everything from your photo app to some of the most advanced scientific research out there. So let's just start with a question that gets right to the heart of it. How does a computer look at a bunch of pixels and somehow know that's a cat? It seems like straight up magic, but the answer is inspired by something incredibly familiar: that amazing 3-pound supercomputer sitting right inside your skull.
All right, here's our game plan. We'll start with the blueprint, where the idea came from. Then we'll break down the components of a digital mind. After that, we get to the aha moment of how it learns. We'll look at a couple of specialized tools, and we'll wrap up with a real look at the power and the pitfalls of this technology. Let's dive in.
So, to build a machine that could think, or at least learn, the early pioneers looked at the best example they could find: the human brain. And this led to the creation of something called artificial neural networks, or ANNs for short. You can think of them as a kind of digital echo of how our own minds work. What's really fascinating here is how ANNs are both inspired by our brains and completely different. Our brains, the biological ones, are just masters of dealing with messy, noisy, ambiguous information. They're these incredibly resilient self-learning webs. ANNs, on the other hand, are pure math. They need clean, structured data, and they follow a very strict step-by-step path from input to output. They're a much more rigid version of the real thing. Okay, so if an ANN is basically a digital brain, what's it made of? What are the individual parts? Let's pop the hood and take a look at its basic anatomy.
And you know what? The parallel is surprisingly simple and direct. An artificial neuron, which we call a node, really just does three things, just like its biological cousin. It takes in data through inputs, that's like the dendrites. It crunches some numbers in the main node, that's like the cell body, and then it spits out a result, which is the output, acting like an axon passing the signal along. It's really just a mathematical model of a biological process.
So these artificial neurons aren't just a big jumble, they're organized neatly into layers. You have an input layer where the data comes in, one or more hidden layers where all the thinking happens, and an output layer that gives you the final answer. But the real secret, the absolute key to all of this, are the weights and biases. Just think of them as little tuning knobs for the whole network. A weight controls how strong a connection is, and a bias is like a little nudge that helps fine-tune the neuron's decision. And these are the only things the network actually learned. Which brings us to the million-dollar question: how does it learn? It's not just memorizing things. The whole process is kind of like a student taking a pop quiz over and over and over. They make a guess, they see how wrong they were, and then they adjust their thinking just a little bit to do better on the next try. So step one, the network makes a guess. We call this forward propagation. Data, like the picture of that cat, goes into the input layer. It then flows forward through all the hidden layers. At every single neuron, a little bit of math happens. Inputs are multiplied by their weights, the bias gets added, and the result is passed through an activation function, which basically just decides if the signal is strong enough to keep going. This chain reaction continues until the very end, the output layer, which spits out its best guess. Now, before the network can learn from its mistakes, it has to know just how bad its mistake was. That's where the loss function comes in. It's a simple but crucial job. It just compares the network's guess with the actual right answer and calculates a single number that represents the error. We call it the loss. A big number means a really bad guess. A small number means it was pretty close. And this is the learning part. It's called back propagation, and it's kind of brilliant. The network takes that error score and works backward, from the mistake all the way back through the network. It uses calculus to figure out exactly how much each one of those little tuning knobs, every single weight and bias, contributed to the final screw-up. Then it just adjusts each knob a tiny, tiny bit in a direction that would have made the error smaller. And that's pretty much the whole game right there. The network just keeps repeating this two-step dance: guess, check your error, and adjust. Forward propagation, loss calculation, back propagation, and updating the weights. It does this thousands, sometimes millions of times. And with every single cycle, the error gets a little smaller, and the network's guesses get a little bit better. So now that we get the basic idea of how these things learn, let's look at a couple of specialized tools in the AI toolbox. Because, just like in the real world, you wouldn't use a hammer for every single job. Different tasks need different kinds of digital brains. First up are the visual specialists of the AI world: Convolutional Neural Networks, or CNNs. These are absolute wizards when it comes to images. Instead of just seeing a big block of pixels, CNNs use these cool little filters that slide across the image, looking for specific patterns, things like edges, corners, textures, and eventually more complex shapes. Because they're so good at this, if you're dealing with anything visual, you can bet there's a CNN involved. We're talking about the facial recognition that unlocks your phone, the systems that help a self-driving car spot a pedestrian, even analyzing medical scans. CNNs are really the engine behind modern computer vision. Next up, we have Recurrent Neural Networks, or RNNs. These guys are built to understand things that happen in a sequence where context matters. And they have a trick up their sleeve, a kind of memory. The output from the last step is fed back into the current step as an input. This lets the network remember what came before. This memory makes them perfect for any task where order is crucial. I mean, think about language, right? The meaning of a word totally depends on the words that came before it. And that's exactly why RNNs are the go-to tool for things like language translation, chatbots, speech recognition, and even trying to predict things like stock prices. Okay, so this technology is, well, it's transformative. There's no other word for it. But like any super powerful tool, it's not perfect. It's really important to understand the trade-offs that come along with building these digital minds. On the one hand, their power is just immense. They are unbelievable at finding patterns in complex data. But that power comes at a cost. They are computationally intensive. They need massive computer power to train. They also need huge, and I mean huge, amounts of data. They can also overfit, which is when they get so good at the data they were trained on, they kind of fail when they see something new. But maybe the biggest challenge is what we call the black box problem. Because the network figures things out on its own, it can be almost impossible for us to look inside and understand why it made a certain decision. And that's a huge area of research right now. So when you boil it all down, what's the big takeaway? AI learning isn't some unknowable magic. It's a really clever mathematical process. It's inspired by biology, and it's built on a simple loop of trial and error, guessing and then correcting, that just happens on a massive, massive scale. And that leaves us with one final, pretty mind-bending thought. We created these artificial brains by looking at our own. But as these systems get more and more complex, they might just start to evolve beyond their biological inspiration, and maybe start designing something entirely new, something we can't even imagine yet.